Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about retro video games. Today I'll be looking at one of the more rare NES titles. As someone who loves both platformers and food, this game is right up my alley. It's Panic Restaurant. Panic Restaurant was released in 1992 by Taito for the NES. It's a platformer that puts you in the apron of Chef Cookie, who needs to defeat rival chef Odove, who has taken over his restaurant. Using your trusty frying pan, you must clear out the restaurant of aggressive food products. There are 6 stages in the game, named for different courses, and each takes you to a different part of the restaurant to get it back under control. Visually, the game looks sharp and sounds good, though the soundtrack isn't particularly memorable. The game came out near the end of the NES's life cycle, so developers had learned how to make the most of its capabilities. The platforming action is quite simple. Move, jump, and swing your weapon is the main thrust of the game. At the end of each level, there's a boss fight, which is usually just a matter of getting the timing down. There's also a slot machine at the end of levels where you can spend the coins you've collected to win extra health and lives. I wasn't a huge fan of this, as it could get quite tedious if you had collected a lot of coins. One of the best things going for Panic Restaurant is that it's really quirky and different. The whole game is kind of like a bad food-induced fever dream. I mean, what other game is going to make you fight a giant hamburger or have you dodging killer shish kebabs and exploding apples? The boss fights are some of the more interesting and funny parts of the game, and you'll come up against enemies like microwaves, the aforementioned giant hamburger, or even a quadruple scoop ice cream cone. Ice cream, how could you turn on me? There are also 2 mini-games you can access in certain levels that add a bit of a diversion. They both involve catching food. One makes you catch fish while avoiding bombs, and the other has you catching eggs. Doing well on these, unfortunately, only impacts your score rather than giving you extra lives. The negative things about Panic Restaurant is that while it's quite short, it can get a little bit monotonous. Basically, you're just running around bashing things with either a frying pan or a spoon. There are some special weapons, but in some cases they're not that easy to use, and generally they're quite rare, so the gameplay does get a little bit stale after a while. One of the special weapons is a stack of plates, which is actually a pretty good weapon. It's the only one in the game that gives you any range. There's also a fork, which will let you bounce around kind of like you're on a pogo stick. While this seems like a good weapon, it's actually fairly hard to control, and you have to land precisely on top of an enemy in order to kill it. After using it a couple times, I learned that I was generally better off just skipping it. There's also a large frying pan that offers something like invincibility, which sends you spinning through the level, taking out anything in your path. While the game starts off quite simple, things start moving faster and getting more unpredictable as you go on. I found the level with the flying shish kebabs particularly challenging. More interesting mechanics like ice and falling platforms also make an appearance late in the game. Panic Restaurant is a short game. There are only 6 levels, and none of those are particularly large. If you're fast, you could probably beat the whole thing in a half an hour. There aren't many mechanics to master, so it's not a hugely challenging game, although there are parts where you need to master the timing of attacks, and the learning process can easily cost you health or lives. If you're looking to pick up a copy of Panic Restaurant, it currently price starts for $300 for just the cart. Now, it's a fun game, but I don't particularly think it's worth $300, unless you're one of those crazy collector types. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.